Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Dave Tree.
That's not true. That's impossible.
You're listening to Making Tracks, episode 21. I'm your co-host, Mark Newbold, and joining me today, I'm bunged up with hay fever. I don't know what this guy's bunged up with, but he's going to tell us in a minute. Please tell us, what are you bunged up with at the moment?
On the last episode, you were clearly frustrated, and I don't know if it was the weather or anything like that. Hi everyone, it's Dave Tree, down at All the Cool Stuff, and what a difference from our last episode. It is now lovely here.
Yeah.
It is. I'm back on the water. If there's any good sponsors out there that would like to sponsor the show, providing us with light refreshment whilst we talk, please drop a line at news@fanthatracks.com. We can do you a very good package. But yeah, it's scorching. It's really hot. It's really hot, and I love it. Finally, in the last closing days of June,
Yes.
We've actually got a little bit of summer, at least down here. I mean, what's it like up at your end?
Excuse me? I mean, the weather's great. It's the antihistamines, that's what I blame. The weather's lovely, it's really nice. Star Wars is awesome. We've got loads on this episode, but before we do that, let's go back to Burnley, Star Wars Fan Fun Day, and this is me having a chat with Kenny Lee from Solo, a Star Wars Story.
How many of these shows have you done so far? Is this fairly early in your... It must be because Solo only came out last year.
Yeah, it is fairly early for me because it's like my third show, but it's my third show, but it's the biggest one of this sort of caliber for me anyway. So yeah.
So what do you think to it?
It's been overwhelming seeing how much Star Wars has made an impact to so many people's lives, and getting to know people, talking to them, and just seeing what an influence has made them, and for someone to come up to me and say, wow, I think you're amazing, and they wish me the best, and they love to do what I do, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so touching to hear somebody saying that to me. So,
is that a part of the Star Wars experience you weren't expecting?
It is, because in the sense that because obviously Star Wars being so big and there's been so much big actors in there, and then there's little old me, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, who's going to care about me? Because at the end of the day, I've got what you call a supporting role in the movie, where you've got A-listers that's been doing. Some of them have been doing it for years. Yeah. Some of them are up and coming, and you know what I mean. So it's amazing how somebody can come up to me and say, "Oh, I think you're great," and it's really overwhelming. Yeah.
So to be here, like you say, you mentioned those comments. We're looking around and it's thinning out now because we're getting towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it was very busy earlier, and obviously lots of kids, lots of grown-ups. So you've got a mixture of people, older fans like me who've been there since day one, who kind of know stuff, and then there's little kids who just get excited. Do you enjoy the mixture of meeting those different kinds of fans?
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Especially with younger kids who are new to the franchise. You know what I mean? They weren't around to see the original trilogy, so they're coming into basically the newer sequels and the new sort of spin-off episodes into it. So, and seeing how they're getting into, they're mixing with other actors and finding out the real history of how where it all began. So, and even to the older generation, and so it's been a mixture of sort of emotions, you know what I mean, meeting everybody, even just to talk to them, and for them to come up to me and letting me know that they've come all the way from Belfast, they've come all the way from Switzerland or from America just to be here and to get a photograph or an autograph, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And like, you'll spend 2 or 3 days just to fly from another continent. You know what I mean? So I thought, wow. It's mind-blowing.
Whet your appetite then for doing more shows like this. Obviously, clearly you'd love to do more Star Wars, but to be involved in this kind of thing, it's a really nice side, how would I say it, offshoot of doing what you did.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I guess this is lovely that I get to meet fans and meet people who've got loyal supporters, you know what I mean? But also like the acting ability when it comes to making the movie, being part of the whole movie magic, as you might put it. So it's a big thrill on both sides of the coin for me.
And your experiences in Solo, where was it you shot your scenes?
So we shot them in Pinewood Studios. It's a huge studio lot. So my scenes were involved a lot with the Mimban. We're in the in the swamp. So it was like my scenes took about 3 months into filming.
Wow.
And I got to do a bit more stunt work, a bit more battling on combat, and a lot of using firearms, and there was a lot of pyrotechnics that were going on, people on wires, and it was a great feeling, and then being there with actress like Tandy Newton, who was involved in that, and Woody Harrelson? Yeah, Woody Harrelson, So,
it was a fascinating scene to watch as a fan, because you kind of got the sense that the way they edited into it, it felt like there was loads more going on. It just had that full feeling. It looked amazing.
It does, and I'm sure you know that there was a change of director in mid-movie where Ron Howard took over, and so it was a change of dynamic, but in a very good way, in the sense that there was this whole feeling of, I don't know, a bit of feeling of magic, that it was all coming together now. You can see the storyline, you can see where it's leading up to. So,
I think as a fan looking in from the outside, it made you realise what a monstrously big project it is, and also to get it right. So it did come across that when Howard was involved, it elevated the game, and it made everybody feel really good about it.
It did. And being like, I call him Richie Cunningham. I can't. Every time I look at him, he's the same Richie Cunningham. So to be there and see him how he works as well, it was a great feeling.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for your time today.
No problem.
Really
Thanks
good
for
to meet
talking to me. It's an honour.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Take care.
It's Tuesday night. Time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. Welcome to Making Tracks.
Galaxy's Edge. It's finally opened in Anaheim. It opened on the 31st of May. It's up and running. People are going into the park. It's looking awesome. The weather's amazing. The food's wonderful. They've got, listen, they've got water as well. But there's your special water. Expensive special water, not this cheap tap that we have. So, from what you've seen so far of Galaxy's Edge, what has really caught your eye?
This is a little bit different to what most people would say. I've kind of kept Galaxy's Edge at arm's length in all the build-up and stuff like that. Partly because your expectations get built up so much that when these things are deployed and are out there, it's very tough for them to ever reach the expectation that you've then given it, because you've been, so much anticipation going into it. So I've deliberately kind of kept it at arm's length because of that. I've not really followed what rides are going to be there, and I watched the Star Wars show episode where they walk around it, and the thing that really took me more than anything else wasn't like the merchandise, although like if I'm there, you're going to get caught up, that's all part of the fun. But actually it was the look and the construction of the buildings. So, hello. A few years ago, I really, really, really wanted to do Farthest From as like a Tatooine market.
I remember.
And we went through so much aggro trying to get these stalls to have awnings and stuff like that. And at one point we were going to be using the town hall, we were going to be putting sand in there, and the town council were no way. And then we're going to be putting down carpet instead to kind of give you that desert look, and scaffolding and cables going backwards and forwards, and we got stuff built, and you're never ever going to be able to replicate that feeling of, oh yeah, I'm in a Star Wars. It's still going to look just like a bit of wood and a bit of MDF, and it's just not gonna carry it off. And I loved watching on the Star Wars show where they're going down the marketplace, because you got all of those awnings, which was exactly in my pea-brain mind what I was thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And you had all the different types of shops, with like the antique one, and then the droid repair bay, and then like the food vendors. It's like, oh, I love that. That to me is weirdly more, it's like the set.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh look, it's the Falcon, because you've seen the Falcon well, you haven't seen the Falcon, but like what the Falcon looks like, and it's going to be there, and you got the X-Wing, and you got like the A-Wing and stuff like that, and all of their marketing pictures have been pretty much about the same things. But then you're seeing, like on that clip, them just walking down, and you're like, yeah, that just looks fantastic. There's that, and then you have the animatronic Hondo, which I did see the video a few months back of that. Now Hondo is, hands down, my favourite character from the animated sort of stuff. So he's the best character in Clone Wars, he's the best character in Rebels. The fact that they've now brought him into this, to me, is actually quite a big deal, because it's like really not so much he's a secondary thing anymore. They're actually bringing him more and more into the fold all the time. And he is such a brilliant character with so many dimensions to him that he just works. It's really, 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 really cool that they got him in there. But I know he's like a little bit of fairy dust in part of that whole thing. He's kind of like the Jack Sparrow element for the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. What was that called? It was Pirates of the Caribbean, isn't it? Yeah. It's just literally that. He's not the whole thing. He's just that element in there. And the comparisons are directly there with his character and Jack Sparrow. Those are the two elements I am taken with, like a lot of the merchandise as well, what I've seen so far. But really, it's the look and feel of it. Even though it's not immersive, it's just literally being in a Star Wars land. The possibility of animatronic Hondo on Akka going rogue and then killing everybody when Skynet takes over or something like that. What about yourself, Mark? I mean, what's been your thing that is making you sort of like twinge with respect to Galaxy's Edge?
I'm glad you've qualified it by saying Galaxy's Edge. For me, it would be because
What is the matter with you?
I've got no idea.
God,
something in the air today.
Start taking those bromide tablets again.
What do you mean again? For me, it's because I used to write a lot of fanfic when I was a kid. So for me, I had a character called Yan, and he was a smuggler, and it was very Han Solo, obviously. So starports and that sort of side of the galaxy is what interests me. The sort of day-to-day, like a businessman in Star Wars sort of thing, which my character was. So to be in Black Spire Outpost and be on Batuu and basically see parts of a starport and just walk around shops and places like that, that's what's lighting me up. So yeah, the merchandise looks amazing, but I'm kind of, in a weird way, turned off by the merchandise because there's so much of it. Not that I'm a completist, I'm not a completist, I like bits of everything. So it should kind of fit well within my wheelhouse because I like to have eclectic stuff. But that being said, there's part of me, it's kind of like there's so much. It's kind of imposing almost, there's so much of it. I always buy little bits and bobs anyway, so I'll still get bits of tap. But no, it's just the being there. And one of the things, I love Universal, so I love the Harry Potter stuff because I'm a big Potter fan as well. So I love being at sitting in the Leaky Cauldron, just eating my dinner in the Leaky Cauldron, looking around, seeing all the stuff on the walls. And I'm looking forward to doing that at Galaxy's Edge. So the Falcon ride looks amazing. I know Rise of the Resistance isn't ready yet, but that looks fantastic from what we've seen of it. When they get that working properly, that'll be amazing. Yeah, just to be there, I think, will be the thing. And like I say, if you've got the right time of year, and obviously Orlando will have the advantage, I guess, over California, although I don't know. The weather's pretty much always great in California, isn't it? So, you're going to have that nice temperature and the weather's going to be good. It's going to feel like you're somewhere exotic. So that's what's doing it for me.
Anywhere's better than here is what you're saying.
Pretty much. I mean, it's going to be interesting when they open the one in Paris, because that's a couple of years away, I think, yet. And it's half the size from what I understand. It's nowhere near the scale. But it's going to have one of the rides there. It's going to be fantastic. But as well as I know, Paris can belt it down just like it can here. So it'll be interesting to see how Paris holds up.
Hi, this is Gareth Edwards, director of the best standalone Star Wars film since Caravan of Courage, called Rogue One. You're listening to Fantha Tracks. Enjoy.
December 19th, here in the UK, The Rise of Skywalker comes out. It's the 9th episode in the 9-movie set, even though George at some point said 6 and another point said 12, but they've landed on 9. Do you think that this film will be all that we hope it will be, encapsulate everything that's gone before in the previous 8 films, give us a satisfying ending to the 9-movie set? What are your expectations right now? Where do you think this is going to take us?
So I had a theory that where there'd been almost a media blackout on a trailer and a title release and things like that, building up to it. I honestly thought they're going to come out and do this episode 9, part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
9 episodes were actually going to be 10 because there was nothing ever in stone to say this is all it is. The cynic in me knows that they won't call it quits after this.
Yeah.
They've only done arguably 3 films out of the whole franchise, and then like 2 spin-off stories so far, a couple of like TV shows in the works. That timeline starts with Phantom Menace, finishes with the Rise of Skywalker. You've got things that go on in between and scope there. They're going to take it beyond this in one form or another. And you can read into what they say about the title. Does that actually set it up for more films beyond, you know? And we know, like you said straight away, 12 films, then 9 films. They've rewritten and done a U-turn on what's official and what's not. I remember when Red Leader was called Dave.
Mm-hmm. Texas Dave, yeah.
Yeah, so they're always rewriting things. And just because it's been rewritten once doesn't mean that they're going to rewrite it again. So you've only got to look at what they're doing with their own properties, with things like live action versions of Maleficent and Mary Poppins and Dumbo. You know, they're going through all of that prior IP, doing a new spin on it or a live action spin on it, you know, with Beauty and the Beast. They're not going to leave it alone. They're going to be doing something somewhere along the line. So I don't think this will necessarily be a conclusion. I don't think there'll ever be a conclusion. You know, and arguably just as you look at the comics and the novels, they went beyond that because that's what they were told really to like work within. They couldn't really work within certain parameters at some times because, you know, that was like off limits.
Yeah, well, Marvel had that an awful lot back in the day, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think arguably Disney are going to be working this in very much the same way. I don't know. I don't... Genuinely, to say that Ray Finn and Poe, that's it for them, I don't think so. Well, the actors and actresses, they're all playing their age where they were brought into the franchise.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like going back on things to try and make them, you know, different. It's not like what you were trying to do with Solo. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if you could ever go through contracts that there'll be something in there, words to the effect, as and when required, you will be appearing again.
Yeah.
For something somewhere.
Yeah.
I can only use the example of Forces of Destiny with them using the voices and stuff like that. Daisy Ridley and
Felicity Jones.
Yeah. It's their voices that are used, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would never happen. That's written into a contract, saying that, you know, when required. And I reckon the same thing here. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it needs to end. And I think the elements of Star Wars that I've enjoyed the most are the things that aren't actually bang on the Skywalker story arc, if that makes sense. My favourite comic book series from years back was always Rogue Squadron. Also the Thrawn trilogy and the Rogue Squadron books up to a point. But the computer games, I love X-Wing. There's a bit of a theme going on here.
Yeah.
But like things like Knights of the Old Republic, you know, none of those were like Skywalker-led storylines.
Totally agree.
Yeah, they are some of my favourite stories. You know, I love Solo. I love Rogue One. And I personally think that they're stronger stories than what you've got with the sequel trilogy. So, you know, as long as there's always content, it's always good.
It's a good point you make, though, that I think the difference is when Mark, Harrison and Carrie finished Return of the Jedi, they really did think that was it. Because George was already talking about going back, and you're not going to use those actors to go back, and they could never have conceived of Star Wars coming back again for a third time. It was a different landscape then, wasn't it? Whereas now, you know that they'll finish Rise of Skywalker 3 years later, they start with the new trilogy in 2022, and you've got a film every 2 years. And yeah, I think you're right. I think even though this is the end, and they've got to make it feel like it's the absolute definitive end, like they did with Revenge of the Sith. The circle is now complete, and that's it, done. We may do animation, but, and of course Disney gets involved and buys Lucasfilm, everything changes. But yeah, I agree. I don't see this as being an end because the scope of Star Wars is so big, the galaxy is so big. And personally, for me, and I'm 99% sure they are going to do some Old Republic, so you are going to go back before the Phantom Menace. But if somebody somewhere said, right, the furthest back we'll ever go is Phantom Menace, and the furthest forward we'll ever go is Rise of Skywalker, because 60-odd year window of Star Wars to fill.
Which is huge.
Which is enormous. And exactly to your point, it's like, you can do X-Wing stories in there, you can do Han Solo or smuggler underworld stories. There are other factions all around the galaxy having massive conflicts, you would think, that have nothing to do with the Rebellion versus the Empire. It's a monstrously big galaxy. That's why it frustrates me that they can seemingly fly from A to B in no time now. That annoys the hell out of me because that's just made the galaxy feel small when it's not. It's enormous.
Not unless you're in that giant Snoke spaceship and all you're doing is just chasing people and lobbing mortar shells in space. Now what I mean is, where they're trying to get away and it's kind of like, up to this point you send 1 million TIE fighters in to kill stuff, you don't really value life or the lives of your soldiers. You're just going to overrun them. Or you just go out of hyperspace and cut them off or whatever. There's 1,000,001 things.
Interdictors.
We're just going to do this slow space pursuit. Like Master and Commander style, you know. You know what that reminded me of, though? Do you remember Speed with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock? Kinetic, action, moving, lots of pace, thrills and drama. And then Speed 2 wasn't quite. I think you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. It's had none of that.
And Speed 2 had Tamira Morrison in, which was great, but Speed 2 wasn't quite so good. Do you remember Speed 3? Father Ted with the milk float, and they're going towards the boxes. That reminds me of that space chase. But the point being is that it's this huge galaxy, and you've got that big time span, all that space and all those lives and all those people. If they said we're going to set all Star Wars within that 60-year time period, because all the characters we know and love are in there, everybody's in there, Rey and Finn, and they're all in
Max
there.
Max
Rebo. Lobot
Adventures.
Lobot was nearly in the new Spider-Man film. Have you heard this?
No.
Apparently, I've only briefly read it, but the way that it read to me was that there's a scene where Spider-Man gives away his Star Wars toys, but decides to keep one back, and the only figure that he keeps back is Lobot. But it didn't end up in the film, which I thought was kind of cool. And I want to see Lobot again. I really hope Lobot, in some form or fashion, is in Rise of Skywalker. That would be awesome. So I'm really hopeful for Rise of Skywalker. I think there's lots of, from what we've read, different people have said, there's loads of holdovers from the previous films. Obviously, they've got a lot to wrap up from The Last Jedi to tie off bits from that, and Force Awakens the same, because they're basically one film. In my mind, they're one film because they're so chronologically tight to each other. And it's got to have its own adventure. There's new characters coming in, so I'm really stoked for what's coming. I'm excited for Rise of Skywalker. I think it's going to something really, really special. So fingers crossed when we find out on the 19th of December, unless people are lucky enough to get to the premiere. Hopefully they'll have another premiere at the Albert Hall or something like that. We'll have to have a Fantha outing, I think, for that one.
You might have to wheel me up into the big smoke. Not that I'm in a wheelchair, but I
was going to say, what have you done? Are you going to break your ankle? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, now you've jinxed it. I'm probably going to do that.
So, Dave, you, podcast and convention maven that you are, put on and helped organise New Forest Comic Con, and one of the guests there was Lee Towersey, who, as we all know, because he's mega famous now, has his own fan club and everything, helped build the droids for the new Star Wars movies. And back at Star Wars Fan Fun Day in Burnley, pulled him aside for 7 minutes to have a chat about what was going on in the Star Wars galaxy for him. So this is me and Lee having a chat at Burnley Star Wars Fan Fun Day.
So I am here, kneeling down at Star Wars Fan Fun Day in Burnley. It's 2019, it's raining outside. I'm here with Lee Towersey. Hello Lee, how are you?
Hello Mark, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good.
I'm good. I had a couple of beers last night.
We did, yes, I saw.
Yes, and breakfast was much needed this morning. So how are you enjoying the show? Because how many shows like this have you done? I know you're in Chicago.
Okay, for signing, this is my first event in the UK, just to try it out and see, how it goes, which is so far so good. But of signing events, I've done a few in America, so it's about the 4th or 5th event I've done.
Yeah.
But this is a great event.
I was going to say, this has got such a good reaction from people and such a good reputation from folks. What's your feelings on it? Because it's very much, there's kids all around, it's very family friendly.
It is indeed, yeah, that's the thing. It's family friendly, it's very relaxed. You've got a good selection. I just saw the stands up the other end, the stalls with the traders. Then you've got the autograph area, and you've got the photo ops, and it's just got a nice feel about it. They've just obviously, I think it's pretty much the same every year with a change of celebrities and so on. And I think they've just nailed it. They've got it, just right, and they haven't changed it and spoilt it.
Yep.
And it's what, the 12th year now, I think this is.
Yeah.
It's a really good event, and I'm disappointed I haven't been here sooner.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. I know it took me a few years to get to the first one, and I don't miss it now.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, hopefully I can come next year, even if it's with the R2 builders, and it's great. It's really good.
Obviously, as people know, you work on the droids. How much do you enjoy the opportunity to sit down with, I say this with inverted commas, regular fans who may kind of know this is R2 or may kind of know various... Do you enjoy explaining the process to people and what's involved with it?
I love it. Yeah, I still am a fan. I still am a regular fan. I still class myself as that as well. Fortunately, I get to see the other side. But it's nice to be able to share the stories. You know, we spend so much time under NDA and we can't talk about things. And of course, I'm limited to what I can talk about. But it's nice to just share a few stories and be able to talk about it, and people engage in and want to hear the stories. You know, so it's nice. It's great.
And you get a buzz, obviously, when people. I mean, you've got a nice display of images here and stuff that you've worked on. Do you like it when? I mean, obviously, everybody loves R2. That's a given. But do you like it when somebody's? Oh, tell me a bit about this little fella. Tell me a bit about that.
Definitely, definitely. Because we obviously make other droids other than R2D2. It keeps me in a job, you know, because R2's a done thing now. He's built, and we use the same one all through the films. So I'm always looking for new projects, new things to build at work, and that comes home as well. We start building droids at home, which I do in my spare time still, and so it's nice to explain the process on them as well. And it's a nice challenge as a job, and great to talk about in addition to R2 for sure.
Obviously, you can't talk about 9 because 9's months away. But with the projects that are out at the moment that everybody's seen, like Rogue One, like Solo, like the Force Awakens and Last Jedi, which of those droids gave you the most enjoyment putting together?
I've got to say the ALT droid, actually, which are the tank track droids which are in Solo. We made one for Rogue One, and it seemed for about a second, that's all. But thankfully it was liked so much that they brought them back out for Solo, and we got to use more of them. They're on Dryden's yacht serving drinks as well. We used them at the Rat Party, which some of the R2 builders came along and drove, serving food and drink, which was good fun. And it's just a fun droid to build and to drive as well. So as a change from R2, just ignoring R2 and not being too, I would usually say R2D2, but it got me a job for. But the ALT droid is my favourite droid now.
And now looking at, because there's a familiar kind of silhouette, there's a familiar feel to a Star Wars droid. Do you like it now when you start riffing on that template and start doing little things that are a bit different? Because obviously the sequence in Solo, on Kessel, the droid revolution, there's a lot of interesting things going on.
Definitely. I forgot what the count is now. It was 50 or 60 droids we built for Solo. That was our busiest job for droids. And there was only a team of 4 of us, and we built them in about 8 months, I think it was, all the droids. So that was a good challenge, and we do have to follow design because the production team...
You'll never guess who that is.
So the production team give us some guidance because they choose from the concepts art what we've got to build. So we have to stick to that somewhat. But we do freestyle it a little bit, and have our creative input as well. So which is fun to do.
I was going to ask that. How much latitude do you have? Because it's one thing having it drawn in 2D or even 3D, but when you've got those physical materials in your hands, I'm assuming sometimes other ideas come up and options come up.
Definitely, because we don't always get a 360 view from the concepts art either. So what's going on the reverse side of the droid, maybe not a given thing. So we'll go back to the people like Jake Lunt, who happens to have designed a lot of stuff that I've been building, because he designed the BB-8. He was part of that design team. Not that I worked on that, but he's done some of my droids, including the ALT droid. He designed that. You can see from the dome that it's got a very BB-8-esque look about it. I sometimes go to Jake and say, this is missing something, and he'll come and have a look at my build, and we'll, scratch our heads, and we'll both bounce off each other and come up with some ideas. And he thankfully goes with some of my stuff, and I take ideas from him. So it's quite organic, and they do change. And it depends what time you've got as well. Sometimes if you haven't got the time, you just go with what you've got, and that's it.
And what do you prefer? Because going back to the original Star Wars, which is always going to be your template, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was done under the gun, really, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
ILM were working fast, and the model maker, everybody was working fast.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of compromise to make it all work.
Yeah.
Do you think that compromise, if you understand what I'm saying, do you think that compromise in making it work and making it fit added to the template of Star Wars, and do you try and honour that in a way?
Yeah, it probably did. Yeah, we do. We try and... What we always try and do is, in anything we build, we try and find something that's familiar, but doesn't register straight away quite what it's from. So it might be from an angle poised lamp or something like that. Something that we see in our everyday life, just a piece of that we throw at a droid, and that's how they made the originals back in the 70s. It was just going to scrap yards, and that we do pretty much the same thing now. We salvage parts from even when I'm not working. If I see something at home that's being thrown out, then we do. And funny enough, actually, Warwick Davis, he found a milk carton cap in America while he was away, and thought, that really looks like a droid part.
Yeah.
And in DDBD, in Solo, he gave it to us and we introduced it to his droid because he was in the character, he knew it was a droid part, and so we got some moulds of it, and we've used this particular cap in other droids as well now. So you do have like a go-to scrap shelf, if you like, and certainly it's the familiarity of Star Wars being salvage parts and sort of semi-familiar parts. So we do try and follow that ethos when we can.
There's that nice history, isn't there, of like Lucas saying, the slave one's based on the upside down lamp and
exactly
the Falcon's a burger and stuff that
That's right. Yeah, so it's it is part of the Star Wars, and that gives stuff its Star Wars look, I think, as well, for sure.
So you're a happy bunny, you're enjoying your time?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm having a wonderful time, and life's good.
Good. Well, thanks for your time.
No problem. Always nice to speak to you, Mark.
Cheers, mate.
Here's a question for you, then. Would you actually prefer to create a whole new bunch of characters, or would you prefer to explore characters that you've seen or you know a little about?
That's a good question. I would meet you halfway on that one. I would like to explore situations and worlds we've been to before with new characters. So I think you could theoretically go through any of these trilogies with these massive galaxy-changing events going on and see them from other characters' point of view. So that's what I say. You could kind of touch the periphery of what you've seen before, but with completely different characters. So the Rebellion, for example, is enormous in the terms of the amount of people. They've never put a finger on it. I mean, there's like 4.5 million TIE fighters out there, so God knows how many stormtroopers there are. So the Rebellion fought them, so that's got to be a significant number of people. You know the hierarchy, but once you get down and you start pyramiding out from there, there's so many stories you could tell. And Luke wasn't the only hero of the Rebellion. We know that from Rogue One. There's all these other people that had massive impact and influence on what happened to the galaxy. So I think there's loads of stories, and I hope at some point we do get beyond not having to, because we like the comfort of Luke turning up, and I hope that never goes. But you don't need it as a crutch anymore. You bring in other characters that are in different ways just as important. Lucas obviously started off with these people because they're the people he first wrote and became passionate about. But make a 360 thing about it instead of a 2D version of Star Wars. Got all these other components that all come together to make the success, because they could all filter into a final result if they wanted to write it that way.
Do you feel that when you get cameos, do you think they're awesome, cool little nods, or do you think it's a little bit forced? So I'll give an example from within the realms of what we're talking about, having Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba there on Jeddah. Do you think that was cool?
Yeah, on one hand, I mean, Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba, on the face of it, it's like, that was a little bit shoehorned. But then you look at what a great job they did of making them look so identical to the originals. And also from a nerdy point of view, if you look on the map where Scarif is and where Tatooine are, it's got the death sentence on 12 systems, and Scarif's not far from Tatooine. And,
oh my God, I forgot I'm talking to you.
So that worked for me. I thought that was cool.
So just how close is it?
Not far at all. It's
my God.
Like if you carry on around counterclockwise around the rim, it's not that far away. But apart from that, I thought that was okay. But the one that really got me was Gold Leader and Red Leader. Those two being in it was just like, that was so good. And the fact they got Angus McInnes to come back and do some new audio for it as well that was brilliant. And using that footage that hadn't been used before. And the one pilot being killed, so he became Red 5 and all that. So Luke's cockpit was empty for Yavin and all that sort of stuff. And in a weird way, not in the way that we ever wanted, but in the same sense that they used unused footage to put Gold Leader into Rogue One, they're using unused footage to make Leia work in Rise of Skywalker. And it's not a cameo, because from what we know, she's very present as a character. Here's a call that I'm going to make, and I think I might have said it before, but I'll say it again. I don't think she will, and I don't think there's any requirement for Leia not to get through the Rise of Skywalker, a character, to survive to the end, because if it is the end, 9 is the end, they don't need to kill her off. If they've got enough footage they can use and tweak and manipulate to do what they need to, they can keep her in. They could have, if they'd wanted to, taken her out of 8 quite easily. There's plenty of opportunity to do that. And they must have known then what they needed to do for 9, and they're not daunted by that. So there's obviously the technology to do it. So I don't think Leia's going to die in 9, weirdly enough. I think she'll survive. I don't think there's any reason for her to die. So that's like a cameo. So if it's done well and done right, I think there's room for that. And so if you're carrying on with new characters in the same environments, in the same time frame and the same situations, then you have got the opportunity to have cameos. And again, as technology gets better, you can quite easily, let's say with Harrison Ford's permission or however they want to play it, bring in a younger looking Luke for a cameo, because the tech's going to get so good within the next 5 years, you won't know it's not Hamill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it'll be indistinguishable. We're probably 10 years away from them being able to do completely photorealistic versions of the big three as they looked 40 years ago, and you really won't be able to tell the difference. You'll have an actor acting it out and they'll be able to manipulate it to look like whoever, and then the box is really open. Then you can just they can completely get it out. And that's when Star Wars becomes a completely animated series, essentially, like The Lion King that's coming up. Disney are telling us it's live action. It's not, it's animated. I can see Star Wars going that way. It will be completely animated because the tech's there to do it, and you can make it look just like the old ones did. The budget will come down and Disney will love that, and all you need is voice actors and people with dots on them moving around a blue screen. It will give them extra scope, and maybe they'll sit one film like that alongside a film with massive sets. The tech's only going to get better that you won't even know the difference. Opportunities.
It's quite exciting. And the things that are knocked out now, we would never have dreamt about back on the prequel trilogy.
No.
I look back to that first Celebration Europe, and they had the trailer for the Clone Wars cartoon, and you were just like, oh wow, it was just mind-blowing. And we're going to be moving into a new era regardless with live action TV series. That's going to be like mind-blowing. But I will still maintain that the Rise of Skywalker is Rey. She is a clone and product of the severed hand of Luke from like Empire Strikes Back. I'm still maintaining this. You hear me, Nick Brokenshire? Where we debated in Chicago and you were having none of it. I'm telling you, she is a clone. That is why you saw so many of them in the cave, because you only take what you need, and she took herself and she wanted to know answers, and she saw millions of herself. You never see her hands unwrapped. She's always got bandages around her forearms. She had the flashbacks when she touched the saber. She had the saber calling to her. The first thing that she saw was Bespin, where the hand was cut
separated. Yeah.
That was like his last memory. She's a clone. There's freaking loads of her, and she's the clone of Luke's hand. That's what Skywalker is. The Force Awakening, that is her waking up, and all the other clones are waking up. It's like Skywalker has risen again, because there's like literally millions of Reys.
That's very sci-fi. I like that. It'll be like the end of Buffy when all the Slayers arise at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, we only know about one that's with the Resistance, but all around the galaxy,
there's massive galaxy.
Yeah, that massive galaxy. There's a Rey in every pocket. Backwater planet, and she's a clone, and they're all waking up, and that's why there's this big false headache. It's all off that one hand.
When we review Rise of Skywalker on this very show...
We're not going to review anything, man.
Of course we are.
That's what it is.
We're going to spitball it, and you're going to look back and you're going to go...
I've not even had a drink yet.
But I know you haven't. I know. I'm just on water again, still, but which is enough for me. But I think there could be some interesting discussions to be had about this. I like that thought. You and Paul Naylor both think very similar. He's had a very similar thought about Rey's upbringing and origins and stuff. So let's find out. Let's find out on the 19th of December, if not before. So that's the end of episode 21 of Making Tracks. I'm going to read out now, Dave. Well, I'm not even going to read it. I've got it memorised. This is completely from memory. This is all the places you can find Fantha Tracks if you want to find us. So, Fantha Tracks Radio, you can find us on the website at the Fantha Tracks Radio landing page, which is on fanthatracks.com, of course. You can email us radio@fanthatracks.com if you want to. We're on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, any other kind of social media you can think of. We're probably on there somewhere at Fantha Tracks. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us on Google Podcasts, which is my personal preference. Stitcher, Android, listen on Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn, iHeartRadio or Spreaker. We're also on smart speakers such as Amazon Alexa, Apple HomePod, Google Home and Sonos. You can get us in your car on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, on your gaming consoles and your television, and you can find us on Fantha Tracks TV on YouTube or the Fantha Tracks app. And for all the details on how to listen and subscribe, go to our dedicated page on the website, Fantha Tracks Radio. It's all on there, and please like everything, give us 5-star reviews, because goodness knows we like them and we need them. And Dave, we will have to get together again very soon and do another episode, because 2 episodes in 2 weeks, that never happens, does it?
Oh, it's like we're almost regular. That's why you're getting backed up.
There you go, see? Cyclical. Just like the Star Wars saga, we've come right back to the beginning. But we can't say any more than that. I'll see you next time, Dave.
And you.
Bye.
Bye.
Unprepared and unrehearsed as usual.
Salutations. Hello, chaps. Great that you watched the video. Really pleased that you took the time to watch it. Now, if you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and tell all your friends. Subscribing is good because we have new videos every Wednesday, every Saturday, so don't miss out.